Amanda Bradley wiped sweat from her forehead as the hot desert sun beat down on her back. For 3 weeks she had been digging at this site in the Gobi Desert, hoping to find something, anything, that would prove her theories about early human writing. Most of her colleagues thought she was wasting her time. They said humans didn't develop writing until much later than the period she was studying. But the markings she had found at sites across the world told a different story. "Amanda, come look at this," called her assistant Paul. She hurried over to where he was carefully brushing dust from a stone tablet. Even from a distance she could see the familiar swirls and angles that had become her obsession. Her heart raced as she knelt beside him. "It's the same pattern we found in Egypt and Peru," she whispered, running her fingers over the carved symbols. "How could the same writing appear in places separated by oceans, thousands of years before we thought humans could cross them?" Paul shook his head. "Maybe it's not writing. Maybe it's just decoration?" "No," Amanda said firmly. "These symbols are too precise, too consistent. They mean something. I just need to figure out what." That night, as the research team sat around a campfire under a clear desert sky, someone pointed upward. "Look at that. A shooting star, but..." It wasn't a shooting star. The light grew brighter, followed by another, then several more. Soon the night sky was filled with strange lights moving in formation. The team watched in wonder and fear as the lights grew closer, revealing massive ships unlike anything humans had ever built. By morning, the news had spread worldwide. Alien ships had appeared over major cities. Earth was experiencing first contact. Captain Jacob Young stood at attention as the alien delegation entered the United Nations building in New York. As the military liaison assigned to the diplomatic team, he was there to observe and protect, not to speak. But he couldn't help staring at the visitors. The two main species called themselves the Virilians and the Tholians. The Virilians looked somewhat like giant birds, with feathers in blues and purples, and four-fingered hands at the ends of their wings. The Tholians resembled walking crystals, their bodies reflecting light in rainbow patterns as they moved. "We represent the Conclave," the lead Virilian, Ambassador Rilthar, announced. His words were translated by a small device at his throat. "A peaceful union of 37 spacefaring species. We are pleased to welcome humanity to the galactic community." The UN Secretary-General welcomed them and introduced the human delegation. Jacob noticed that the aliens seemed surprised when Amanda was introduced as an expert in ancient languages and archaeology. "You study your own past?" the Tholian representative asked. "How unusual for a young species." Amanda smiled politely. "We are very interested in our history." As the formal greetings continued, Jacob noticed Amanda staring at the emblems on the aliens' uniforms. Her face had gone pale. When there was a break in the proceedings, he approached her. "Dr. Bradley, is everything okay?" She glanced around to make sure no one was listening. "The symbols on their ships and uniforms, they're similar to the writing I've been studying. The writing that's supposedly 50,000 years old." Jacob frowned. "That can't be right. Maybe it's a coincidence?" "In linguistics, there are no coincidences like this," she whispered. "I need to get a closer look at their written language." Over the next few weeks, Amanda was invited to join the linguistic team working with the aliens. The Conclave had brought translation technology, but they were eager to learn Earth languages directly. Amanda used this opportunity to study their writing systems. One day, while working with a Virilian scientist named Zivax, she noticed him scanning her with a small device. "What are you doing?" she asked sharply. Zivax blinked his large bird-like eyes. "Forgive me, I was curious about your species' genetic makeup." "You could have asked permission," Amanda said. "You're right, I apologize." He hesitated, then added, "Your DNA is interesting. It contains sequences that remind me of stories from my childhood." "What stories?" "The precursors," Zivax said softly. "In our oldest legends, the precursors were the first intelligent life in the galaxy. They seeded many worlds with life before vanishing millions of years ago." He waved a wing hand dismissively. "But these are just myths, of course." Amanda's mind was racing. "These precursors, do they have a written language in your stories?" Some ancient artifacts bear markings said to be their writing, Zivax admitted. But no one has ever translated it. Before Amanda could ask more questions, they were interrupted by the entrance of the Tholian science officer, who gave Zivax a sharp look. The Varelian quickly changed the subject. Later that day, Amanda called Jacob. "We need to talk, not over the phone." They met in a small park. Amanda showed him photos of the conclave writing and her own archaeological findings side by side. "The similarities are too strong to ignore," she said. "Either they visited Earth in the past or what? Or maybe humans are somehow connected to these precursors Zivax mentioned." Jacob looked skeptical. "Wouldn't we know if humans had been to space thousands of years ago?" "Not if something happened to make us start over," Amanda said. "Think about it. All our oldest myths talk about falls from greatness, lost golden ages." Dr. Olivia Reeves was confused by the data on her screen. As a quantum physicist at the National Laboratory, she had been asked to analyze energy readings from the alien ships. But something else had caught her attention. "Neil, come look at this," she called to her assistant, Neil Garrett. "The satellites are picking up strange energy pulses from various points around the globe." Neil leaned over her shoulder. "From the conclave ships?" "No, that's the weird thing. These are coming from Earth, specifically from ancient monuments and certain geological formations. Maybe it's some reaction to the aliens' technology?" Olivia shook her head. "These readings started before the aliens arrived. They've just been getting stronger since." She pointed to a map showing the pulse locations. "Look familiar?" Neil's eyes widened. "Those are all major archaeological sites, the pyramids, Stonehenge, Göbekli Tepe, and some places we didn't even know were important." Olivia added, "Something's happening, Neil, something big." 3 months after first contact, Jacob was in a meeting with military leaders when an aide handed him a note. He excused himself immediately. "What's wrong?" Amanda asked when he called her. "The conclave ships are scanning Earth intensively, focusing on the same sites Dr. Reeves has been monitoring. They told us it was standard procedure, but my sources say they've never done this with other worlds. We need to find out what they're looking for," Amanda said. A week later, Amanda and Jacob were invited aboard the conclave flagship for a cultural exchange. While the main delegation was being given a tour, Amanda slipped away. "This is a bad idea," Jacob whispered, following her. "You should have stayed with the others then," she replied, using a stolen access card Zivax had accidentally left behind. They entered a restricted area and found a terminal. Amanda's studies of the alien writing helped her navigate the system until she found a database of archaeological findings from dozens of worlds. "Jacob, look," she gasped, scrolling through images of artifacts bearing symbols nearly identical to those she'd studied on Earth. "These are from all over the galaxy." She downloaded as much as she could before they heard voices approaching. They barely made it back to the main group in time. That night, as Amanda reviewed the stolen data, she began to piece together a story told in fragments across the stars. A story of a great civilization that had reached the stars long before any current species existed. "Jacob," she said, looking up with wide eyes. "The writing doesn't just look similar to what I found on Earth. According to these translations, it identifies Earth as the homeworld, the origin point." "Of what?" Jacob asked. "Of everything," Amanda whispered. "If I'm reading this correctly, humans aren't new to the galaxy at all. We're the oldest species of all. We're the precursors." Before they could discuss further, Amanda's phone rang. It was Olivia Reeves. "Amanda, you need to come to the lab right now," the physicist said, her voice shaking. "We activated a DNA sequence we found in the human genome, something that looks artificial, engineered. It projected a hologram with symbols just like the ones you've been studying." "What did it say?" Amanda asked. "I don't know." "That's why we need you," Olivia replied. "But whatever it is, the conclave ships have suddenly changed position. They're forming a perimeter around Earth. They're quarantining us," Jacob realized. "They know." "Know what?" Olivia asked. Amanda took a deep breath. That we're not what they thought we were. We're not newcomers to the galactic stage. If I'm right, we're the lost elders of the stars, and for some reason that terrifies them. Amanda, Jacob, Olivia, and Neil met in the basement lab of the physics building. The university campus was quiet at midnight. They had decided it was safer to meet in secret. "Show me the hologram again," Amanda said, brushing her hair behind her ear. Olivia nodded to Neil, who pressed a button on a small device. Light sprang up from it, forming symbols that floated in the air. They glowed with a soft blue light, turning slowly. Amanda walked around the floating message, studying it from all angles. "It's definitely the same writing system I've been researching, and it matches what we found in the Conclave database." "Can you read it?" Jacob asked. "Not completely, but I'm starting to understand parts of it," Amanda replied. "This section seems to be talking about a great cycle and returning home, and this part mentions the children of Earth, who will awaken to their birthright." Neil leaned forward. "You think it's talking about humans?" "It has to be," Amanda said. "The message was hidden in human DNA." Jacob paced the room. "But why would anyone hide a message in our DNA? And how could they do that thousands of years ago?" "Maybe they didn't," Olivia said. Everyone turned to look at her. "The artificial sequences we found aren't just random. They're designed to activate only after we reached certain evolutionary and technological markers." "Like triggers," Neil added, "set to go off when humanity was ready." A heavy silence fell over the room as they considered the implications. "Ready for what?" Jacob finally asked. Before anyone could answer, their phones buzzed simultaneously. It was an emergency alert. The Conclave had called an unexpected meeting with world leaders. Admiral Krelthan of the Tholians stood before the United Nations Security Council. His crystalline body glittered under the lights. "It has come to our attention," he said in a cold voice, "that certain humans have been accessing restricted Conclave information and conducting unauthorized genetic research." The UN Secretary General looked confused. "We've been open about all our research." "Not all of you," Krelthan said. His crystal eyes seemed to find Amanda and Jacob in the audience. "Some humans have activated dormant technologies that should remain inactive. For the safety of Earth and the galaxy, we demand that all such research be turned over to Conclave authorities immediately." After the meeting, Jacob pulled Amanda aside. "They know what we've found. We need to be careful." "We need to work faster," Amanda corrected him. "They're hiding something big, Jacob. Something about human history that scares them." That night, using his military clearance, Jacob accessed satellite imagery of Earth orbit. What he saw confirmed his fears. More Conclave ships had arrived, forming a tight ring around the planet. "They're not protecting us," he told the others when they met again. "They're containing us." Over the next few weeks, the team worked in secret. Amanda continued, decoding the ancient language, while Olivia and Neil studied the artificial DNA sequences. Jacob used his contacts to monitor Conclave activities and keep their work hidden. A breakthrough came when Amanda realized the ancient writing referred to specific locations on Earth. "It's like a map," she explained, pointing to her notes. "The symbols keep referring to a place called the First Home or the Cradle, and based on the star patterns mentioned, I think it's somewhere in the Pacific Ocean." Using the coordinates Amanda had decoded, they identified a small, uninhabited island that didn't appear on most maps. "We need to go there," Amanda said. "How?" Neil asked. "The Conclave is monitoring all international travel." Jacob smiled for the first time in days. "Leave that to me." The small seaplane touched down on the water near the island at dawn. Jacob had called in favors from old Navy friends who didn't ask questions. "Stay with the plane," Jacob told the pilot. "If we're not back in 24 hours, leave without us." The island was small and rocky, covered in dense jungle. Following Amanda's directions, they hiked to the center where a large stone formation rose from the ground. "It looks natural," Olivia said, studying the rocks. "It's not," Amanda replied. She walked around the formation looking for something. "Here," she called, brushing away vines to reveal markings carved into the stone. The team gathered around. Amanda traced the symbols with her fingers, murmuring to herself, Then she pressed a sequence of them in a specific order. Nothing happened. Maybe. I misunderstood, she said, disappointment in her voice. Neil pointed to one of the symbols. This one looks like it's talking about blood. Maybe it needs a genetic key? Amanda looked at her colleagues. Human DNA might be the key. Taking a deep breath, she pressed her palm against the central symbol, wincing as a hidden needle pricked her skin. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ground began to shake. The stone formation split open, revealing a stairway leading down into darkness. Should we call for backup? Neil asked nervously. Who would we call? Jacob replied. The conclave is watching everything and we don't know who else we can trust. Amanda turned on her flashlight. We came this far. Let's see what's down there. The stairway descended deep into the earth. The walls were smooth and covered with the same symbols Amanda had been studying. But unlike ancient ruins, everything looked clean and preserved, as if it had been built yesterday. This place must be thousands of years old, Olivia whispered. But it looks brand new. Finally, they reached a vast chamber. As they entered, lights activated automatically, revealing a space larger than a football stadium. The room was filled with technology unlike anything they had ever seen. Curved consoles, floating displays, and strange machines whose purpose they couldn't guess. This is impossible, Neil breathed. Human civilization wasn't capable of this kind of technology in the past. Maybe not the human civilization we know about, Amanda said. They moved through the chamber, afraid to touch anything. In the center was a raised platform with what looked like control stations. Look at this, Jacob called. He had found a door leading to another chamber. When they entered, they gasped. The room was filled with thousands of pods, each large enough to hold a person. They were arranged in rows that stretched into the distance. Are these stasis chambers? Olivia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Amanda approached one of the pods. Unlike the others, which were dark, this one glowed with a soft light. She wiped dust from its surface and jumped back in shock. Inside was a woman, apparently sleeping. She looked human, with dark hair and pale skin. She wore a silver uniform with symbols that matched those Amanda had been studying. She's alive, Amanda whispered. The pod is showing life signs. As they stared in amazement, the pod began to hum. Lights flashed across its surface. Then, with a hiss of escaping air, it opened. The woman's eyes fluttered open. She sat up slowly, looking at each of them in turn. When she spoke, her voice was clear and strong, with an accent none of them recognized. The awakening protocols have been initiated, she said. My name is Archivist Kate Richards. I've been waiting a very long time for you to find me. Who are you? Jacob asked, his hand instinctively moving toward his gun. The woman smiled. I'm human just like you. But I was born 200,000 years ago when our people ruled the stars. Amanda stepped forward, her heart racing. You're saying humans had an advanced civilization thousands of years ago? That we're the precursors the conclave speaks of in myths? Precursors? Kate laughed softly. Is that what they call us now? Yes, your ancestors, my contemporaries, built the foundation of galactic civilization. We created or uplifted many of the species that now form the conclave. Her expression grew serious. And now you need to know why we disappeared and why they fear our return. Everyone stared at Kate Richards in shocked silence. She stepped out of the pod with surprising grace for someone who had been asleep for thousands of years. We should move to the command center, Kate said. It will be more comfortable there, and I can show you what you need to see. She led them back to the main chamber and touched one of the consoles. Chairs rose from the floor, and a large holographic display appeared in the center of the room. Please, sit, Kate said. Once they were all seated, she began her story. Humans evolved on Earth millions of years earlier than your current science believes. By the time your fossil record begins, we had already achieved technological singularity and expanded throughout the galaxy. The hologram showed a map of the Milky Way with thousands of stars highlighted. At our peak, humans controlled over 10,000 star systems. We encountered many primitive species and helped some evolve into intelligent life. The Varelians and Tholians were among our greatest successes. You created them? Neil asked in disbelief. Not exactly. They were already evolving naturally. We simply helped them along, gave them a push toward intelligence and provided technology and guidance once they were ready. Jacob frowned. If humans were so advanced, what happened? Why did we fall back? To the Stone Age? Kate's face darkened. We encountered something in deep space, something we weren't prepared for. The hologram shifted to show a strange, cloud-like formation. We called it the Void. It wasn't alive in any way we understood, but it was intelligent and hostile. It was a swarm consciousness from another galaxy that consumed energy, including the energy of living minds. Like a predator, Olivia said. Yes, but one that feeds on thought itself, Kate replied. Our first colonies to encounter it were completely destroyed. Their minds were absorbed into the swarm. We fought back, but the Void adapted to every weapon we created. The hologram showed massive space battles, human ships fighting against dark, shifting clouds that seemed to eat light itself. We were losing, Kate continued. So the Council of Earth made a desperate plan. We would retreat to our homeworld and other key strongholds. We would hide our most advanced technology and revert our society to a pre-technological state. Why would you do that? Amanda asked. Because the Void was attracted to advanced technology and complex thought patterns. By simplifying our civilization, we could hide from it. Kate touched the console again, and the hologram showed Earth with strange devices positioned around it. We created a shield of sorts, not a physical barrier, but a psychic one that masked Earth's mental energy signature. And you just chose to become primitive again? Jacob couldn't hide his disbelief. Not exactly. We encoded our knowledge and history into human DNA, with activation sequences set to trigger at specific evolutionary stages. We also left knowledge caches like this one around the world, protected by genetic locks that only humans could open. But why not just leave written records, Olivia asked. Because we needed to be sure the knowledge wouldn't be found too soon. If humans rediscovered advanced technology before they were ready to face the Void, it might attract its attention. Again. The DNA triggers ensure that humans would only regain our ancient knowledge when they had evolved the mental capacity to use it wisely, and to fight the Void when it returns. Amanda leaned forward. When it returns, you mean it's coming back? Kate nodded solemnly. The Void operates in cycles. It consumes, then retreats to digest and grow. Our calculations showed it would return to this galaxy roughly 200,000 years after our final battle. That time is approaching. A heavy silence fell over the room. Finally, Jacob spoke. And the Conclave? Do they know about this? They know fragments, Kate said. Stories passed down through generations, twisted by time, into myths. They know that humans, or precursors as they call us, once ruled the stars and then vanished. Some fear our return because they believe we will reclaim our dominant position. But others might want our help against the Void, Amanda suggested. Precisely. The Conclave is likely divided on how to handle humanity's reemergence. Neil raised his hand like a student in class. I still don't understand. If you were so advanced, why not just leave Earth and hide somewhere else in the galaxy? Because Earth is special, Kate replied. It's where humans evolved naturally. Something about this world's specific conditions created the human mind. A mind that thinks differently than any species we encountered or created. That unique way of thinking might be our greatest weapon against the Void. Olivia had been quiet, processing everything. Now she looked up sharply. The energy pulses we detected from ancient monuments, are those part of your defense system? Yes. As humanity approaches the technological threshold we programmed, the dormant systems are beginning to wake up. The Conclave ships probably detected those energy signatures, which is why they came to investigate Earth in the first place. So what happens now? Jacob asked. Now that you've found me and activated this facility, more systems will come online around the world. The knowledge encoded in your DNA will begin to express itself more rapidly. Kate smiled. Some of you may already be experiencing it. Flashes of insight, dreams of technologies you couldn't possibly know about. Amanda gasped. The dreams! I've been having strange dreams since we discovered the tablet in the Gobi Desert. Machines I've never seen. Languages I shouldn't know. Your archaeologist's mind made you receptive to the awakening process, Kate explained. Others with scientific or creative minds will experience similar effects as the dormant knowledge surfaces. Jacob stood up and paced the room. The Conclave won't just sit by and let this happen. They've already quarantined Earth. If they realize what's happening, they might take more drastic measures. Some will, Kate agreed. But remember, many of these species were our children once. Some will remember the old bonds and stand with humanity. A sudden alarm blared through the facility. Kate rushed to a console. We've been discovered. Conclave ships are converging on this location. How did they find us? Neil asked, panicking. The facility's activation released a significant energy. Signature, Kate explained. We need to move quickly. Back to the plane, Jacob suggested. Kate shook her head. Too late for that, but this facility has defenses. She touched several symbols on the console. The floor trembled beneath them. I've activated the island's shield. It will buy us some time. Time for what? Amanda asked. Time to awaken the others, Kate replied, gesturing to the chamber with the stasis pods. And time to send a message to Conclave worlds. They need to know the truth about humanity's past and about the threat that's coming for all of us. Olivia looked at the others, then back to Kate. What can we do to help? Kate smiled. Everything. You four have already done more than you know by finding this place and waking me. Now humanity needs to remember who we really are and prepare to take our place among the stars again. Outside, they could hear the distant sound of ships approaching. The ancient defense systems hummed to life, ready to protect the secret at the heart of the island. The next phase of humanity's awakening had begun, for better or worse. The ground shook as something heavy landed on the island above them. Dust fell from the ceiling of the underground facility. Conclave dropships, Jacob said, checking his phone. No signal down here. We're cut off. Kate moved quickly between control panels, her fingers dancing across strange symbols. Screens lit up around the room, showing different parts of the world. I'm activating other facilities, she explained. There are 12 main hubs like this one, hidden beneath mountains and oceans around the globe. Each contains technology and knowledge we'll need. Amanda joined Kate at one of the screens. What about the people in the pods? Are you waking them too? Not all at once. That would create too much chaos. For now, I'm waking only the command staff and key scientists. Kate looked at Amanda with kind eyes. This will be hard for your world to accept. Too much change too quickly could tear your societies apart. Another explosion rocked the facility. Alarms blared louder. The shields are failing, Kate announced. We don't have much time. Time for what? Neil asked nervously. What's the plan here? Kate touched a final sequence of symbols. A large circular platform in the center of the room began to glow. This is a message beacon. It can send a signal to every world in the old human empire, including all conclave planets. I've prepared a message explaining everything. Who we are, why we disappeared, and the danger the void presents to all life in the galaxy. Will they believe it? Jacob asked. Some will, others won't. But the message will also activate dormant technology on those worlds. Technology our ancestors left behind as insurance. Olivia looked concerned. What kind of insurance? Nothing. Harmful, Kate assured her. Mostly information caches similar to this facility, but also proof of humanity's role in their development. Many species have markers in their own DNA, gifts from us that help them evolve intelligence. When they scan themselves after receiving the message, they'll find our signature. You put your name in their genetic code? Neil asked, amazed. Kate smiled. Something like that. The door to the main chamber burst open. Armed conclave soldiers, both Varelian and Tholian, stormed in with weapons raised. Step away from the controls, ordered the Tholian commander, his crystal body flashing with angry red light. To everyone's surprise, Jacob laughed. "You're too late," he said. "The message is already sending." The Tholian aimed his weapon at Kate. "Stop the transmission!" "I can't," she replied calmly. "And I wouldn't if I could. You need to hear the truth as much as everyone else." "The truth?" The Tholian's voice was cold. "The truth is that your kind abandoned the galaxy when it needed you most. You left us to fend for ourselves." "We had no choice," Kate said, "and we left you with everything you needed to survive and thrive. Look at what you've built in our absence. The Conclave, a union of dozens of species living in peace." A Virelian officer stepped forward. Amanda recognized him. It was Zivax. "Commander," he said to the Tholian, "perhaps we should listen. The old legends say the precursors, the humans, had knowledge of a great darkness." "Superstitious nonsense," the Tholian replied, but he lowered his weapon slightly. Kate gestured to a large screen where her message was playing. Images of ancient human civilization, the war with the Void, the plan to hide and return when needed. "Void is real," she said, "and it's returning. You've seen the signs, strange energy patterns at the edge of the galaxy, stars going dark before their time. These aren't natural phenomena." The room fell silent except for the hum of the message beacon. Even the Conclave soldiers seemed transfixed by the images on the screen. "We need each other," Amanda said, stepping forward. "Your technology and our forgotten knowledge. Together we might stand a chance." Suddenly, new alarms blared. The screen shifted to show a view of Earth orbit. The quarantine fleet was breaking apart. Some ships moving to attack positions, others forming defensive clusters. "The Conclave is fracturing," Zivax explained. "Some believe the humans should be destroyed before they regain their power. Others wish to stand with Earth." "What about you?" Jacob asked, his hand inching toward his concealed pistol. Zivax looked at his fellow soldiers, then back to the humans. "I believe the old stories. If the Void is real, we need the precursors. We need humanity." The Tholian commander raised his weapon again, pointing it at Zivax. "Traitor!" Before he could fire, the facility shook with the most violent tremor yet. Everyone struggled to stay on their feet. "What now?" Neil shouted. Kate checked a monitor and smiled. "The planetary defense system is activating. We built it into Earth's major mountain ranges." On the screens they watched as energy beams shot from mountains around the world. The Himalayas, the Andes, the Rockies, and others. The beams reached into space, forming a web of light around the planet. "What's happening?" the Tholian demanded. "Earth is protecting itself," Kate explained. "The defense grid is neutralizing hostile ships while leaving friendly ones intact." They watched as several Conclave warships that had moved to attack positions suddenly lost power, drifting harmlessly in. "Space, you see?" Kate said to the Tholian. "If we wanted to destroy you, we could, but that's not our purpose, never was." The commander lowered his weapon, his crystal body now glowing a subdued blue. "Then what is your purpose?" "To unite," Kate replied. "Simply, to prepare, to survive what's coming." Over the next few hours, more ancient humans awakened from stasis pods. Conclave representatives arrived from the ships that had chosen to ally with Earth. Together, they began to plan. Amanda found herself working as a translator between modern humans, ancient humans, and aliens. The ancient language she had studied for years now flowed naturally from her lips, part of the dormant knowledge in her DNA awakening. Jacob coordinated with military leaders around the world, explaining the situation as best he could. There was panic at first, but as more evidence emerged and more dormant technology activated, people began to accept the incredible truth. Olivia and Neil worked with scientists from the Conclave and the awakened ancients, studying the Void and its weaknesses. The enemy fed on mental energy, but perhaps that could be turned against it. A week later, Amanda stood on a beach watching the sunset. So much had changed so quickly. The world was still adjusting to the truth about human history and their place in the galaxy. Not everyone accepted it easily, but the evidence was overwhelming. She heard footsteps behind her and turned to see Kate approaching. "How are you holding up?" the ancient human asked. "It's a lot to process," Amanda admitted. "A month ago I was digging in the desert looking for pottery shards. Now I'm helping plan the defense of the galaxy." Kate smiled. "You were always meant for this, Amanda. All of you were. That's why you found the tablet in the desert. That's why you could read the symbols when no one else could. You were ready to remember. And the others? The rest of humanity? They'll remember too in time. Not all at once, but gradually, as they're ready." In the distance, they could see lights rising from the ocean, another hidden facility awakening. And above, in the night sky, the stars were slowly filling with ships as the conclave split and reformed. Many had chosen to stand with Earth, returning to the ancient alliance their ancestors had once known. "Will it be enough?" Amanda asked, quietly. "Against the void?" Kate looked up at the stars, the same stars her people had traveled to thousands of years ago. The same stars they had fought to protect. "I don't know," she said honestly. "But we'll face it together this time. No more hiding. No more forgetting. Humanity has remembered who we are. We were never truly new to the stars. We were just lost, for a while." As if in answer, a shooting star streaked across the sky. But Amanda knew it wasn't a shooting star at all. It was a ship coming home, to the world where it all began.